What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Catchpolia sitting on the couch making some money investing in fractional real estate online as usual. Today is Friday, so it's time for this week's installment of the 52-week challenge. This is just where I tell you everything that I've bought this week as far as fractional real estate goes, and you are welcome to share your journey as well. You can jump in the Discord. You can put your comments in the comment on this video, or you could also send me DMs. That seems to be the preferred method. Lots of people like to talk about what they're buying without sharing it with everybody else. That's fine, although I think that the real benefit of this channel and the community that we're building is sharing ideas, talking about properties, helping each other with due diligence and whatnot. Anyway, jumping right into it. This week I bought, 4 LROs on ground floor. This is the first week in a little while that this number's moving up, so I'm getting a little bit more diversification on here. If you haven't been following along, my goal on ground floor is to just get as wide a diversification as possible as far as their LROs go. I had made a lot of progress on that quite a while back, but then they artificially sold off or paid off a whole bunch of the LROs to move those loans to some other product. Since then, though, it has been building back. It's been slow. I'm hoping, I had to take some cash off the platform when that happened. I'm hoping that doesn't happen again, and that that was a one-time thing. And once I get past 100, somewhere between 150 and 200 loans is the goal. And then I'll start adding more cash back on this platform and just putting more into each one. But until I'm just really confident that it's, that's not going to happen again, I'm just hesitant to do it because it's just a hassle, right? To be trying to invest every single week. And then all of a sudden, they just paid, you just have a bunch of cash sitting there that is, and there's nothing on the platform to reinvest in. I know I've complained about that a lot in the past. I did some other videos. It seems like it's been quite a while now. It's been over 6 months. And like I said, this number is growing, right? I have 119 loans now. So far, I still have not had any move into the default category. I've had quite a few pay off. I had more payoffs this week. So 177 in total paid off. A lot of those moved to extended, but again, none of those to default. I know that hasn't been everyone's experience, and it seems like I've just been really lucky. I think probably the timing has a lot to do with it, right? I think that this past year, it's just really worked for them, and I think that artificial payoff might have saved me from some defaults as well, but I don't know that for sure. Before I forget, please like and subscribe. In the description to this video, there are links to all the places where I am currently investing in fractional real estate online. Please feel free to use those links, but do your own due diligence on all the platforms and any of the properties. Just because I'm buying some of these things doesn't mean that you should. And just because I don't, I pass up some of the deals doesn't mean it's not right for you. So you want to dig into each one of those individually. I just put them there so you can find them. You can see what I'm doing. Also in the description to this video, there's a link to the Discord that I mentioned that I have set up. There's around 200 of us now. A lot of active discussions on several different channels, the Lofty channel, the Mogul channel, some on Arrive, some on Saul's Lot when there's new stuff happening on there. So feel free to, join that Discord, jump in any of the conversations. If there's a platform you're investing on that we don't have on there, feel free to let me know and I'll add a channel for it as well. Okay, back to the 52-week challenge, what I bought this week. As far as on Lofty, I bought 3 properties. If you watched last week, I talked a little bit about why I bought Colfax. Very much so just because the current token price is so low. And when I look at that price relative to what I believe the liquidation value is for this DAO, I just see a lot of value there. Obviously, I'm having to make some assumptions, and if you're going to do the same, make the same sorts of decisions, you have to do that for yourself as well, as far as what you think the property is going to sell for. What sorts of expenses are going to be incurred along the way and whatnot. This is a DAO that does have 2 properties in it. There's an agreement in place with a third party for them to renovate and then purchase from us one of the properties. and then we'll still have the other one. I don't know. It seems like it seems very difficult for me to believe once I go through the numbers that the liquidation value is less than this $13.43. So that's why, again, this week bought a little bit more. South Solano, this is, I did a video a couple of days ago where I mentioned this, and the next one I'm going to talk about as well. This is a multifamily property in Las Cruces, New Mexico. It certainly had some problems. We've had some vacancy. I think there's no yield this month. Most of the actual problems with the property have already been addressed. There's also the issue of the co-owner is no longer going to be paying the mortgage. It's going to be taken over by the Dow, and there's going to be a refinance. That hasn't been solidified yet, but it appears that I believe we're already taking over the payment. I'm okay with that because I like this property I like the deal itself, and I believe that we can move that debt into the property and still have a reasonable yield. It'll just depend on what the debt looks like, and if not, we could always just pay it off, and it's a relatively strong cap rate for this type of property. And so this is a deal that when the tokens have gotten very cheap, which they are right now. I bought them a little bit below here. I think people are selling off thinking, I really think people think this is going to be the next brownfield, and there's the potential for it to go to zero. And while there's always some chance that these DAOs will go to zero, I don't think this one's it. This, to me, there just seems, the outstanding loan's not huge. I think that if we had to, we could get together and get it paid off. The property itself is performing significantly better than that one was and whatnot. So that's why I bought this. A couple and again, I'm not putting a ton of money on here, although this property dipping did get me to put new cash onto Lofty, which I hadn't been putting new money onto that platform in quite a while. So just jumped on there to take advantage of what I believed was very cheap tokens relative to their value. And then the only other one I bought this week is a little bit of Umland Circle. This is, again, just a situational thing, right? There's the co-owner that brought this property to the platform owes a large water bill from prior to this property being sold to Lofty in an attempt to raise capital to pay that off. Earl is working with him to sell his tokens at a discounted rate. And so I just bought some of these. I mean, at $21, if this property is worth anywhere close to what the appraiser said it was worth 9 months ago, there's a significant upside just from an equity perspective on this deal. Now, if it turns out that appraisal is off and it's possible that we're going to lose money there. I don't think this is a fantastic income producing property. And so we are very much still counting on Craig, the co-owner, to be able to keep making that mortgage payment. I think that's the real risk here now because, okay, if he hadn't been paying the water bill, he didn't have the cash to actually make the water bill payment. Is he going to be able to keep paying the mortgage? Because if not, this deal gets a lot scarier, and we will have to sell it. And if we had to fire sale it, are we still, are we going to get that same kind of price? I don't know the answer, but I think it's more likely no. But to me, the upside looks to be stronger than the downside, and so I decided to buy a little bit of this. It seems like maybe there's the potential to get some even cheaper. We'll see. I might put up a limit order for something even lower than that 21. I don't know. There's also some discussion about the ULD lending him that money needed to make that payment. And just, in case it's not you're not really familiar with this property, that past water bill has led the city, I think the city or the county, to shut off the water at the property, which is making it so it's, we can't operate it currently. So it's sort of everybody's problem, even though the debt is not, it's not the Dow's debt. It's from, most of it is from prior to the Dow purchasing the property. So anyway, that is the last thing I bought. I didn't buy anything on Mogul or Salslot or Arrived, any other platforms. Not from not looking. It is, I passed on a couple of Mogul deals, I think, in the last week, maybe one this week and one last week. And just to be clear, I would take any of the STRs on Mogul over this SDR if I had to pay par. If I had to pay $50 for these tokens, full price basically, I would never be buying this versus one of the properties on Mogul. But because these are such a deep discount, and I think that I'm getting it here at a great basis, I'm willing to make this investment here. So that's the big difference, right? And that's one of the reasons that keeps bringing me back to Lofty. It's not that the platforms are well run, because I believe it's not. It's not that the deals are great, intrinsically. Like, the property itself isn't a great, it isn't a great moneymaker. I would never have bought this property in real life, paid this amount of money for it, to run it as a short-term rental. Like, it doesn't make a ton of sense as a short-term rental if you had to pay the real value of the property. But by paying a significant discount for the tokens, that changes the math quite a bit. And that's where the opportunity is on here. And I know I've been talking about that for a long time. I just, for anybody who's new, I want to make sure it's clear. Like, I'm not excited about the future of Lofty. I don't think that they're bringing a ton of great deals. I am very much, somebody used this term, and I hadn't heard it in a long time, but I'm vulture investing, right? I'm like, really, like, these are deals that are like, I think a lot of deals go to Lofty to die, right? There are people that can't find another way to raise equity, so they bring their deals to Lofty. A lot of them are problematic, but in that distress, there's opportunity when those tokens get cheap enough. And I am making money on here. It's just, it's a very risky way to go about it, right? I think at some point in time, the music's going to stop, right? The whole, where there's not going to be that next opportunity. But at the moment, they're still there. It's still working. And so I'm going to keep finding value where I can. Anyway, that is everything that I bought this week. Please share what you bought. Like I said, put a comment to this video or in the Discord. I know, wherever you want to talk about it. And and please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and do the thing with the bell. And until next time, I'm just going to keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.